Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the channel. This is Red Dissection and we're here to analyze the Manchester United defeat against FC Bournemouth at Old Trafford on the weekend. But you can jot it down as another of those embarrassing record-breaking defeat under this manager Eric Ten Hag. Before this match, Bournemouth had never won against Manchester United at Old Trafford. They have never scored more than one goal at Old Trafford. They've never kept a clean sheet as well, and all these and many more records were broken at Old Trafford today. Iraola schooled Ten Hag, like many other managers who have done that. We lost against Crystal Palace, lost 3-0 against Brighton, and now 3-0. Could have easily been 6 or 7-0. It was embarrassing. The game started with a Luke Shaw mistake, as usual. You could see the mentality wasn't there. You could see a sea change from the night against Chelsea. And United have now lost, I think, 35 games since Sir Alex retired, and that is one more. They've lost only 34 home games over the entire 2.5 decade of Sir Alex Ferguson's era. So obviously, this is symptomatic of United under the Glazers after Sir Alex, and not just this manager, but especially under this manager, the amount of 3-0, 7-0, and 4-0 we have suffered. It is mind-boggling. Anfield to come next week, it could get murderous. I mean, make no bones about it. This was a criminal act, both by Eric Ten Hag and all his players. Bournemouth took an early lead with another Bruno Fernandes mistake. Obviously, Scott McTominay has to be involved in that as well. These players are symptomatic of our problems, and there is a recurring theme here. Players like Bruno, Rashford, McTominay, they are not good at keeping the ball. They've never been good at it. And against any team that had any kind of structure and playing philosophy, we get easily exposed. We are outworked, we are outrun, we are outsmarted, and we are outmaneuvered in every aspect of a football game. They scored again in the second half with Billing. You could see that when he came on the pitch, he's gonna attack Luke Shaw, who was embarrassing. He has been an embarrassment in his 7 or 8 year spell at this club, and he needs to go. Obviously, they score another soon on a corner. Amrabat lost his man. It was so easy. I mean, there was no challenge. There was no attempt to even pretend that they cared or they were going to fight for the badge. There was none of it. They could have scored fourth. They actually scored a fourth, which was ruled out, but I would have given that. It was an intentional handball, but anyway, any contact with the hand in that play leading to goal is now deemed a handball, so it was ruled out. I remember them hitting the crossbar, the post. There were also numerous chances on the counter attack. We were saved several times by last ditch interception by the likes of Harry Maguire. Was back to his old form. We keep on sinking deeper and deeper as the game progressed, and Iraola and his men had the freedom of Old Trafford. They were the kings at Old Trafford today, and I mean, this is not the first time that has happened, and certainly it is not the only time. We'll see this season a bottom half team dominating Manchester United. I think this will continue under this manager until we get a, until we get a complete overhaul, top to bottom, from the owners to the manager and the players. Until we get there, I don't think we should be surprised that it gets even worse, especially starting with Bayern Munich in midweek, and obviously the haunting, harrowing trip to Anfield next weekend. Going to play ratings, we're going to keep it short, simple, and honest. With Andro Nana, he's a clown in the box. He can't save anything. His distribution has been all over the place. Can't seem to find those kind of passes that he used to do for Inter Milan. Under pressure, his distribution goes pear shaped. So I know why we bought him, and certainly not living up to the hype. Diego Dalot was back to his usual self. I mean, he had a good game against Chelsea, but we know defensively he's a weakling, and offensively, I remember one special sequence that he just had to square the ball for Hoyland to get his first goal, and he went for a near post shot. Embarrassing. That man is embarrassing, and he deserves all the flack he gets. Harry Maguire was decent in the first half, but second half everything went pear shaped. I mean, he was out of his elements. He was caught a lot of times on the ball, in our own half. We can't fault him too much because we know his limitation, and it is just it's an indictment of the manager that Harry Maguire, who was completely out of the running last year, has come back and become his starting centre back over the likes of Varane, and manager will have to take the blame for it. I mean, he dropped him as a captain, but he keeps continuing to pick him. He gets another low score. Luke Shaw was the worst player on the pitch. There is a very specific reason for it. It was his back pass in the first minute, opening minutes of the match. He gave to Onana. He almost considered a penalty, the foul on Dominic Solanke. That told us everything that we had to know about the mentality and the frame of mind of this team. They were complacent. They were playing as if, because they won against Chelsea, that they had some kind of divine right to be allowed to play against to be allowed to play the game against the likes of Bournemouth, and he was thoroughly exposed, thoroughly humiliated all through the match until we get rid of this kind of fat, overpaid sloth. I think we're gonna keep seeing this kind of embarrassing capitulation against even mediocre teams. Sergio Reguilon was our own impression of a road runner. He was running all over the pitch without any design. He was a headless chicken. The service was atrocious. I mean, he couldn't cross even a single ball into the box for our strikers. I mean, Beto has his most comfortable game, I think, and he needs to go back to wherever he emerged from. He's just not good enough. Amrabat had a difficult game. He was on his own, obviously, in this formation. The defensive midfielder doesn't get any help from Bruno or McTominay. And tonight he didn't get either. He was lamb to slaughter, and he was completely hung out to dry. He tried to do his best, but just not good enough. Scott McTominay couldn't pass. He couldn't shoot. He couldn't control the ball. Kept losing the ball. He couldn't compete with his runners, and he was thoroughly outfought by the midfield. It has come to a point that you can't even blame the players now. It's the manager's fault, and he keeps picking these players. If you think about it, it's bewildering that Fred has gone, but McTominay has become a mainstay in this team. A well-deserved score for McTominay. Anthony was a brightest player, but there was no quality. There was no final product. He couldn't cross with his right foot. He couldn't cross with his left foot. He couldn't shoot. Uh, Apart from a bit of effort, I can't give him any marks for any kind of quality on the ball, and he gets another low score. Bruno Fernandes or Captain Calamitous, he's a loser. He's a complete toss spot, and the fact that he quit before the final whistle, I think he intentionally got a yellow card just to get out of the Anfield trip, because he got slated last year because of his petulance and his lack of self-awareness. It didn't surprise me. He's that kind of player. He's petulant. He's overinflated ego. And the thing is, we deserve this because we built up, mediocre, average players as some kind of superstars, the likes of Rashford and Bruno, and so we deserve what comes with it. Garnacho ran around but had no quality. I mean, if he comes against any kind of fullback who's got something about him, who's got like physicality and a little bit of pace, he struggles. He could dominate the likes of Cucurella and Reece James, who never got in his face and never, physically competed against him. And against such fullbacks who actually do compete with him, he's just too raw and crude. He has no, polish to his game, and it was another embarrassing performance from Garnacho. Anthony Marshall, I won't give him too much flack because he worked in a graveyard shift. There was no service to him, and the fact is that everybody blames Marshall for everything else. I think the kind of abuse he gets uh, in place of Luke Shaw, who's been at the club longer than he has. He gets singled out in every match. I'm not gonna go too harsh on the assessment, but obviously he gets a low score. Coming to substitutions, all of them were uninspiring. Hoyland came on from Anthony Marshall, and there was actually decline in her game. Hoyland doesn't offer much because physically he's outmaneuvered, outfought by these experienced centre backs, and not even experienced. I mean, Zabriani had him in his pocket. He was more interested in wrestling him to the ground than playing. he showed no quality for me, and it was another disappointing performance in a whole string of such performances from Hoyland. Talisty came in on for Anthony, I think, and we progressively got worse because he had nothing to feed on. We couldn't get the ball fast enough for him so that he could get a run on his fullback, and obviously he didn't get enough ball to make any kind of impact, especially when we needed goals. And so I can't fault him too much, but it wasn't a performance that filled you with any kind of joy or inspiration. Marcus Rashford came on the pitch and ran around a bit more than he's done for last 6 months. But there is no quality, there is no confidence. You can see that his confidence is completely shot, and I just don't see the point of playing him anymore. I think you need to keep him out of the firing line for a sustained period of time because he's not contributing anything to any of the matches he plays any kind of role in. Johnny Evans came on late. Reguilon was taken out, and Luke Shaw went in the left back position. Evans came in the left centre back position, but there was no change. Even in air, he was defeated. Obviously, he's coming back after injury layoff, so you can't judge too much. His fitness wasn't there, his sharpness wasn't there. You can't scrutinize his performance a lot because he didn't start. He came in as a late substitute, and he didn't make any kind of contribution to the game. We were back to the normalcy of mediocrity under Eric Ten Hag that we've seen for last 15 months. There's no structure. I mean, Iraola schooled him. It was like in Spanish, ir means to go, and a means the destination. So Iraola, he should get a Ola cab and get out of here. This manager is done. He's cooked. He's been cooked several times by different managers this season, and he just needs to go. There's nothing more to add to it. I think it's gonna get a lot more comical and worse over the coming days. If he survives the Liverpool game, I would be surprised, and he just needs to go. I mean, he's been given enough time, and he's wasted a lot more money than previous managers have, and I just don't see any way out of it. He hasn't installed any kind of structure to a game, any kind of vision, any kind of any kind of method, and it's all madness. It's all anarchy. The players they're ruling the roost, and this manager can't get any tune out of the players. These players have, don't get me wrong, these players have put other managers on the bus. They pushed them to the brink, and this manager deserves the same as well. The fate needs to be the same. There has to be consistency. There is no future under him, and until he gets a ticket out of this club, I think we're gonna see these performances on a repeat again and again and again. I think the this aimless exercising failure that we have seemed to have perfected for the Glazers, especially in the last decade after Sir Alex Ferguson. I think this need a complete overhaul. Until they go, this club is never gonna see any kind of glory back, especially comparable to what we had for 3 decades under Sir Alex. This manager needs to go. It has to start from there. I think 80% of the players need to go, apart from the new signees who should be given more time. All the players from previous regimes need to go. The likes of Luke Shaw, Bruno, Rashford, Maguire need to be thrown out of this club. Just terminate their contracts. Get some players who not just have quality but have gumption and heart. And these players don't show any of it, and then there needs to be reprimand, there needs to be accountability. Obviously the higher ups don't have any accountability. They never come to the matches, they never face the music themselves, so the manager has to take it. He's the face of it, and I think the buck stops with the manager. Inshallah, we'll be back with the red prep and try to figure out what we're gonna do against Bayern. There is not much promise. There is obviously it's out of our hands. So to me, it's a dead rubber. There is nothing to gain out of it. Even if we say that the aim is to get to Europe, just to get back in the Champions League, but the way we perform in the Champions League, we don't deserve to be there. Nor I see a point in competing in Champions League when you're not gonna put any kind of fight against the teams like Galatasaray and Copenhagen even. So I just don't see the point. Anyway, we'll be back with the red prep for Bayern Munich on Monday, I think, inshallah. So until then, take care, do good, pray for Palestine, all the oppressed and downtrodden people all across the globe. Assalamu alaikum.